Hi! Thanks for joining us. This video is part of our Foster Parenting 101 series, and today's video is Top 10 Acronyms Used in Foster Care. In foster care, I feel like there are all these acronyms that get tossed around, and sometimes it is really hard to know what people are talking about. And so when I had a get together with some of my foster mom friends, we were talking about how there was so many different acronyms for so many different situations and people, and this list is only the top 10 that I feel like we use all the time. So let's get started. Number 1 is GAL. That stands for Guardian Ad Litem. A guardian ad litem is an attorney that is appointed to represent the children's best interests in court. And a GAL will usually see the kids. In Nebraska, they have to see them at least once every 6 months. If you have a really good GAL, they will be in contact with you on a regular basis to find out how the kids are doing. They can also help advocate for the kids in court for you if something is not going right, or if something is going right, they can help bring that to light at court. So a GAL is an attorney that is appointed to the children by the courts to represent their best interests. Number 2, CASA, a court-appointed special advocate. This is just another person that helps look out for the children's best interests. A lot of times you'll see in complicated cases, they will assign a CASA, which will just help the GAL in advocating for the best interests of the children. Now, sometimes the GAL and the CASA disagree on best interests, but this is where they each do a report for court, and they will speak to what they believe is in the children's best interests and also why they believe that. The CASA actually has to meet with the children once a month, and sometimes they'll even do that more, and they will do things. For instance, we had a CASA on our case, and she did a little pizza party for the kids and brought pizza for all of them to our house on one of her visits. Sometimes they'll bring cookies, or they might take them out for a special occasion. Ours also takes our children to the Christmas party that they have every year, which is just amazing. The kids love it, and they have so much fun there. And so a CASA really gets to know the kids, gets to know your family. They can go talk to teachers, they can talk to the birth parents, they can talk to everybody that is on the case, and they are able then to determine what they feel is in the children's best interests. Number 3, DD, which stands for Delayed Development. Now, this doesn't happen only in foster care, but in foster care a lot of times you will see this because the children have been neglected. So delayed development is just when a child does not reach their milestones at the expected time. And a lot of times because the children are neglected, they will come into care and be delayed development, but once you work with them and they catch up, then they are no longer delayed development. And we actually had that happen with one of our kids, where they were delayed development, and then after a couple years of being in the preschool program, they were no longer delayed development, and they had then caught up in most areas. What they do on their in the school system is, if they're delayed development, a lot of times what that means is that they are delayed in multiple areas and not just one area, and that is how they will get that label, which then allows them to give them extra services in the school system to help them catch up. Number 4 is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of times you hear this with people that have been in war. And this actually is now being given to, this diagnosis is being given to a lot of children who have been placed in the foster system. PTSD is when a person experiences a very traumatic event. They've either experienced it or they have witnessed it. And so then what that does is that gives them maybe nightmares, or they'll have flashbacks. It really can give them uncontrollable thoughts about the situation and make them feel very out of control. And this can be a diagnosis where they can have this, but they can certainly work through it in therapy. We have had multiple children with PTSD, and they have successfully worked through in therapy and have been able to work through all those traumatic events and move past those, which is really, really exciting to see, and it really gives you a lot of hope. Number 5, ICPC stands for Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children. In an ICPC, Sean and I just got done doing one of these, is a statute that governs the placement of children between states, and it is a compact between any two states within the 50 United States. And so we actually just got done doing this, and it was between Nebraska, where we live, and Iowa. And this is going to be in our next video that we put out on our story. And so what the ICPC does is it's a bunch of paperwork that gets filled out, and it's just to move a child or children from one state to another, and it basically says that the states are going to agree to work together for the best interest of that child. But make sure you check out our video on our ICPC that we did that is going to be part of our adoption stories. Number 6. ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Now, this act was a law that was passed in 1978, and it basically helps to govern the placement of children who are Native American. I don't know the entire story, but what I do know is that the government was placing children who were Native American in non-Native American homes, and there was then a law passed that basically says that the Native Americans can govern their own child welfare cases. If a child happens to be in the system, there is a percentage of Native American that they would have to be able to join a tribe with the percentage of Indian ethnicity. And then, if that is the case, they are then to be placed in either a Native American home, or the tribe that they are a part of or able to be a part of is able to dictate if they can be placed in a different home. But they basically have the authority over all of those cases. Number 7, IEP or IFSP. An IEP is an individualized education program, and an IFSP is an individualized family service plan. The two of these are very similar. The IEP basically gives a child the ability to have interventions at school. We have multiple children that are on IEPs. For an IEP, it can be for behaviors, it can be for perhaps speech only, it could be for a learning disability. An IEP covers a lot of different things, and for the child that has the IEP, it is very specific to that child. And so it will help them with interventions. Perhaps maybe they have problems with reading, and so maybe the teacher can help them read questions on a test, or if they have a speech issue, it allows the school to pull them out for extra speech lessons. things like that. Sometimes the kids can go to like a resource room, but the IEP will specifically set out what interventions can be put in place for that child, how much time they're going to be in the classroom and out of the classroom, and also goals for that year for them. For instance, we had a child who struggled in reading, and so they had goals they had to reach for that year. So they would be pulled out for extra reading time. They could get help during tests with reading, but then also they had a goal that they had to meet for that year with like how many words per minute they needed to read. And so that IEP just really helps give them the extra support that they need. And then the IFSP, we also have had children on that, and the IFSP covers the kids before they're able to go to preschool. So usually it is age 3 and younger, and it does the same thing. It puts goals in place and interventions in place to help children with either behaviors or learning or anything like that they may need support in. And so it puts those in place, but it helps the family as a unit to help those children, and so they will help give you the tools you need to help the child progress, and they will also set goals for that child to reach as well. A lot of times with the IFSP, what we'll see is we'll have school representatives that come in to our home and help us work with the children in our home environment. Number 8, RAD, Reactive Attachment Disorder. Reactive attachment disorder is where a child is not able to create a healthy attachment with their primary caregiver or primary caregivers. A lot of times in the foster care system, children maybe have been neglected and not been able to form a good attachment with their parents. And so they, at that point, don't know how. Sometimes they have created a good attachment with their parents, but it's not a healthy attachment. And then they get bounced around from foster home to foster home, and they're not able to form attachments with those caregivers. And then a lot of times that can lead to the reactive attachment disorder, which can be a really tough diagnosis. Number 9, TPR. This stands for Termination of Parental Rights. This is where a parent has had their children removed. They have not worked their plan and they have not made progress towards reunifying with their children. And in those circumstances, you would go to court for a termination of parental rights or a TPR trial. And then the judge decides if the parental rights will be then taken away. So after a TPR trial, which we have actually been through one of these as well, the mom on our case had relinquished, the dads did not, and so we went to a TPR trial for the dads, and the judge decided to in fact terminate the parental rights, which means that the parents no longer have any legal right to that child, and they are essentially no longer their parent, and the child can then be adopted by another family. Number 10, WIC, Women, Infants, and Children. This is a program through the federal government that allows, it's a supplemental nutrition program for women and children ages 0 to 5. And basically what it does is it helps to provide formula and nutritional food at no cost to the parents. And so a lot of times in states, you are, as a foster parent, allowed to be a part of this program, and they will help provide things like formula or milk or fruits and vegetables for the children that are 0 to 5. And in a lot of cases, this is very beneficial. It actually helps quite a bit, especially with formula. But It really is there to ensure that kids are able to get the food that they need and that it's healthy food. So that concludes this video on the top 10 acronyms used in foster care. If I missed one that you think was an important one, if you could comment below and let me know what I missed. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss any of our videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I put out a video, just click the notification bell and we'll see you next time. Bye guys!